Carter, the Power Bryant. Good evening, good sir.
Blake, it happened. It was the weekend that we had been looking forward to more than anything else, and it happened. I know it feels great. It's good to be with you, man.
Jayden Daniels won the Heisman. Carter, I tweeted this out today. I don't know if you saw it. I said #retire5. Am I crazy for thinking that the Heisman Trophy winner, in my opinion, the second best player in LSU's history, deserves to have his number retired?
Like, I was talking about Gabriel Relaford. What are you talking about? I'm kidding.
Don't come on here playing with me. We'll talk about him, though, but don't come on here playing with me.
I as far as number 5 being retired, Blake, you know those single digits, man.
Carter.
That's prime real estate, baby.
I don't give two flying shits what it is.
The Croods don't go on visits wearing number 26. They want the single digit, man. It's the aesthetic. It's how it looks, baby. But I would be open to it. I would be.
Carter, is he or is he not the second best player in LSU's history?
Second best player in LSU's history?
Yeah.
He is the second best quarterback in LSU history.
He's the second best player. Carter, he had 50 touchdowns in a season.
I'm not disagreeing with you that he's not one of the most productive LSU players, and that's not taking anything away from Jayden Daniels. But I think when it comes to grading all-time greats, you have to separate quarterbacks from everybody else because the quarterback gets the ball more than everyone else. But second best player in LSU history, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it. He's definitely the second best quarterback. He's definitely the second best Heisman winner. I'd put him ahead of Billy Cannon. I know some of well, you have a bunch of old timers. I have a bunch of old timers I watch myself as well. The truth, though, Blake, is this was one of the best seasons in college football history. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the issue I had with the voting, right? This has always been, a big debate. We saw members of the national media try to pick apart Jayden Daniels. The issue I had wasn't with someone like Joel Klatt, right? He had Michael Penix number 1.
I don't think his stat takes is that bad. Like, he's being biased, but it is what it is.
Right. At least he had Jayden Daniels number 2. And I know Jayden Daniels was on 90% of the ballots. But if you didn't have him on your ballot at all, that is some of the biggest hater shit I have ever seen in my life. Like, I just don't know how you can look at every single Heisman Trophy winner and see that Jayden Daniels' numbers are better than every single Heisman Trophy winner ever. And you don't put him in your top 3 at all. Blake, that's people trying to vote against Jayden, keeping him off the ballot so he wouldn't win the award, right? That really bothered me. And I got into it with a few national people on Twitter about this over this weekend. And there's all this BS about what actually goes into being an individual award. But the bottom line is we all did our part in getting Jayden this Heisman Trophy, but Jayden did Jayden's part for getting this Heisman Trophy.
Last thing on him. How big is it for LSU having another one? Because Burrow's one thing, right? Like, Burrow's is an outlier to so many different things. But to LSU, how big is it that another transfer QB can come in here, win it, and have the success that he had?
It's huge because it shows that we are more than just 2019, right? When people think LSU football, the first thing they think of is 2019 LSU. And there was a lot of iconic things that happened pre-2019 LSU, right? You had Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, Devin White.
Matt Monk, Nick Saban.
Right. Les Miles was an iconic coach before all his transgressions, right? So 2019 LSU was so big, not only for the SEC and college football, but just history, right? Like one of the best teams in any sport that we have ever seen, right? So to have your first big national landmark after 2019 LSU was huge, right? It keeps your brand going. You're riding off the coattails of Kim Mulkey, Angel Reese, Dylan Cruz. LSU is that school. It's the brand. It's what everyone wants.
All right.
To
Well, you
be a part of.
went where I was going here. So let me just add: is this the best year completely that LSU athletics as a whole has ever had?
Yeah, it's not close. I mean, that's just not close.
Right. I thought the same thing. Somebody tried to argue me this the other day. Caught him like, what are we talking about? You had Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Jayden Daniels, Angel Reese, 2 national titles in different sports not named football. Like, as a whole, like, I get that men's basketball was ass, but it doesn't stop the fact that what you just did and with the other major 3, Carter, this might be the best. Look, you got the Golden Spikes Award winner and the Heisman Trophy winner at the same campus.
Right. And you got gymnastics and softball's good. I mean, you have all these other sports. And also, LSU's kind of with the individual NIL stuff, the first big case study in NIL will be Livy Dunn because, she's not on the same level of an athlete as Angel Reese and Jayden Daniels, but she's made so much money off her name, image, and likeness because she's good at social media, right? So there's so much that's happened in this past year that makes this best year. Now, I know you can make a case for that 07 region where, you had Sylvia Fowles playing, you had the Matt Flynn championship. Those are some really good years mixed in there. The LSU's men's Final Four was in that region. But this past season was, of the modern era at the very least, by far, Blake Ruffino, the best season in LSU athletics.
Malik Neighbors, the biggest argument, and by the way, if I hear Marvin Harrison's daddy one more time, I'm going to vomit. But Carter, I keep hearing, well, Kyle McCord's not a better quarterback than Jayden Daniels. And it's not Malik's fault. It's not Malik's fault. He's got more yards and catches than Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's not fair to Malik when he played better competition than Ohio State did. Ohio State's schedule was cheek water.
It was bad. And look, Blake, before the Florida game, I really had Marvin Harrison and Malik pretty much neck and neck. I had Marvin Harrison actually with the slight lead, even though the numbers were different. But after Marvin didn't have just these monumental games in the final month of the season, the numbers became so different, with Malik's worst game being better than Marvin Harrison's 4 worst games, and Marvin Harrison having less amount of catches and Malik Neighbors had first downs. The number disparity was just too big. So Malik Neighbors did get screwed. It was an all-time screw job for an LSU individual award. And I really hated for him because, Malik let it be known that he really wanted to win this Biletnikoff Trophy.
Yeah, most hated is what he called himself. He was the most hated. I don't necessarily disagree with him.
Yeah, and look, Marvin Harrison was more than just numbers, right? He was the Ohio State offense. The Penn State game was won by Marvin Harrison alone, right? He really was spectacular in that game. But truth be told, Malik Neighbors was better. The only thing that I think was working really against Malik is Marvin Harrison does play for Ohio State. Ohio State had nothing else going on this season. They lost the game versus Michigan. They had no other major individual players do anything. So they really rallied behind Marvin Harrison getting this award, and him being at Ohio State and him and his dad being who he was really helped him win this award as well.
Yeah, I hate that from Malik. And look, we're about to see how big of how big he mattered in this bowl game versus Wisconsin, because I don't think Malik's going to play, and I don't think Jayden Daniels didn't practice today. That tells me everything I need to know about those guys not playing, is that they have practice today and they're not there. And look, Bryant Thomas Jr. had probably about the same season that Marvin Harrison Jr. had, if it's all said and done, which is a pretty good comparison considering they were both on the same team. Carter, let me ask you this. We turned the page. LSU started practice today, and Jayden Daniels was not available. It was Garrett Nussmeier's show. I guess your early thoughts, which it won't, it's not technically that early because he's probably going to play the entire bowl game, of now you turning the page from in the Brian Kelly area from Jayden Daniels to Garrett Nussmeier. What are your early thoughts?
Yeah, I think my heart wants Jayden, Malik, and everyone to play in the bowl game. But my brain tells me, Blake, that it's better for all parties involved to those three guys get ready for the NFL draft and Garrett Nussmeier and the page get turned to where Garrett Nussmeier at least has one start, Blake. He's not had a start. Getting a start as a quarterback is so different than coming in and relief.
No doubt.
Right? You've been in college meeting rooms before.
Month to prepare, too. It's a different thing.
Right. The whole game plan is centered around you, okay? Mm-hmm. And guess what? The defense's game plan is centered around you, right? You're the guy. You have the keys to the Ferrari. This is your team. It's different than coming in the second half and blowing up Georgia, right? Cool. That was a great performance. But guess what? The foot is a little off the gas pedal when you're up by 30 in an SEC championship game, right? So the fact that Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the guy, or at least we think at this point that we're leaning towards him actually being the guy and Jayden missing out on the bowl game, guess what? That's probably the best thing for all parties involved, because our final memory of Jayden Daniels will be him at the peak, right? It'll be him in New York City. That's what we want, right? We want our final memory of that being the case. Now, once again, I would prefer those three to play in the bowl game because I'm greedy. I want to see those three, one of the best trios we've ever seen at LSU, play one last time. But the reality is it's better for everyone involved to where we're not having to worry about, oh, I hope Jayden didn't get hurt on this play, or Malik get hurt on this play, or BTJ get hurt on this play. It's just one of those things where it would be better for Garrett Nussmeier to get those reps and see how he reacts, Blake, to being the guy.
Joe Sloan, kind of crazy today by the Our Coaching Network reported, is the Our Coaching Network QB Coach of the Year. Obviously, our national and SEC QB Coach of the Year. Mike Denbrock gets extended too. Okay, there was a lot of chatter too about Sloan going to Vandy. I guess, what are your thoughts on Mike Denbrock getting extended, Texas A&M going after him, and Joe Sloan being the quarterback's coach of the year? What are your thoughts on those two things?
Blake, continuity is rare in this industry.
It is very.
It's one of those things where I understand this is going to be the big question. What's Brian Kelly going to do in Matt House? But this is part of why I think LSU needs to go in a different direction. Coordinators want to be at LSU. They just do, right? And if you're good, you don't really want to go to anywhere else, because unless you're getting a real pay bump, or unless you're getting a way better job opportunity, LSU is one of the top 5, top 10-ish jobs in the country. This is where people want to be. This is where people want, to stay as a position coach or a coordinator. So Joe Sloan and Mike Denbrock digging their heels in and saying, this is where I want to be, does not shock me, right? Now, obviously, they got a whole new can of worms to deal with rebuilding this offense. And one thing to keep in mind, if you are an LSU fan, is so much of the LSU offense's success, Blake, as the season moved on, came down to the individual greatness of Jayden Daniels, right? There were so many plays that only 3 or 4 human beings on the planet could make, and Jayden Daniels is one of them.
And Lamar Jackson might be the only other one.
Right. So the plays that he made were so one of one, what the hell am I looking at kind of things, where that's just not going to be there. You might not ever see anyone play at that level again as a dual threat quarterback. So the good thing now is if Jayden doesn't play in the bowl game, you'll get to see what the offense looks like, because so many of those great Florida plays, especially Blake in the Texas A&M game, where Texas A&M was in good positions to make plays, is just Jayden was just too freaking good. So that's going to be their next big task is now Garrett Nussmeier, who could be a very good quarterback. He won't be Jayden's level. And now you actually have to have, a lot of play designs work within the framework of the play.
Are you surprised that – how do I want to frame this question? So the Green kid committed to Arkansas today.
Yeah.
MJ Morris from NC State's another kid that LSU is after in the portal. Surprised that they're trying to go with dual threat. Like, they're not trying to recruit the Garrett Nussmeiers of the world. They do not want dudes that can just only sit back in the pocket. I'm not saying Garrett can't run, but they want dudes that can run.
Yeah, so Taylor Green is a very special runner. Very, very, very special.
6'6", 220. I think Carter had 10 rushing touchdowns in the Mountain West this year. Dude's are just a freak.
Yeah, he had a 91-yard touchdown the year before. Mm-hmm. And he's got a big arm and he's got, unbelievable speed. Not a great...
Bobby P wrecked his motorcycle when he found out he committed. Too soon.
Right. No, it's I can't get enough of Bobby Petrino motorcycle. I can't. But the truth is, as a thrower, he does stare down his targets. He does turn the football over. But look, I am interested in MJ Morris as well, but it does not shock me they're going after a portal quarterback. Wouldn't you do the same thing, Blake?
Oh, I 1,000% been calling it for a while. I don't. Do I think Ricky Collins can be a good quarterback? Yes. I don't think he's ready. That if Garrett goes down, bottom line too, like, even if you thought Ricky was ready, okay, like, even if you thought that he would be good to go, after what you just saw with Florida State and them getting snubbed out of the playoff, all right, even though I might believe that the committee got it right, let's not go down that rabbit hole, okay?
No, we're not doing that.
All right, even though I think both things can be true, Carter, you got to. Like, you don't have a choice, right? Like, and look, who am I to say that MJ Morris comes here and doesn't beat out Nuss? Who am I to say that?
Yeah, and honestly, Blake, it's just one of those things where, once again, let's just say Jayden Daniels decides to start the bowl game. Okay,
you said it 3 times, but he ain't playing.
Okay, but just for the sake of this hypothetical, if he does decide to play the bowl game, LSU would be going into next season with their current quarterback room, Blake, with 0 career starts to their quarterback room. 0 career starts. Now, look, Garrett Nussmeier's playing experience does count for something, right? He played most of the Arkansas game his freshman season. Obviously, he played a lot in the Georgia game, and he stepped in and played really well when we needed him to this season, right? But starting is so different than just coming into a game, right? Now, that does not mean that Garrett isn't better than whoever they bring in from the portal. It's just you want guys with experience, right?
Well, Nuss got hurt in camp this past year. Remember, he had the calf strain, and then Ricky Collins running with the 2s, and I'm like, oh, shit, no, kid ain't ready. Like, anything can happen, Carter. That's what I'm saying. Like, and you know when the last time that LSU's team had a quarterback room of 0 starts?
Let's hear it.
2020.
Exactly. Miles,
you want to go back to that? Because I don't.
You don't. It's the most rare asset you can have is quarterback with starts, right? It's a finite resource out there. So, yeah, anyone that wants to come in and compete, I think LSU is very open to it. And the fact that, during the Heisman week that Joe Sloan, once again, it's just a fact, he visited MJ Morris in his apartment complex, that lets you know that LSU is looking for some type of starter experience. And Blake, I do think they're looking for a player who can run some, just to give you a little bit of an extra dimension. But that doesn't mean Ricky Collins can't take a leap. That doesn't mean they can't not go after a quarterback who has just a pocket mentality like a Dante Moore, who obviously still has relationships with the current coaching staff. That could be something that could or could not be in the works. But yeah, I mean, I think Dante could be someone else that they go after.
Zavon Thomas, your favorite wide receiver in Louisiana football history that has not played a snap at LSU, is in the transfer portal. Actually, a little birdie told me, and I kind of threw this out a little bit last night in some groups, would be taking his visit today to LSU. Carter, Zavon Thomas gives us the ultimate weapon in special teams and in the offense that could be struggling, where yards could be at a premium next year. God, what an addition he would be.
Yeah, he's my favorite portal receiver. He was my favorite portal receiver last year.
Before he went back to
Mississippi State. This guy is special. Now, once again, I started doing my own prospect evaluations, and he was a top 3 player in the state of Louisiana a few years ago. So I liked him better than Chaz Preston and a few other names. Aaron Anderson included, who was part of that class.
Has Chaz Preston even caught a pass at Bama?
I don't know. I have no idea. But
I don't think he even has a catch.
Like I'm telling Zavon Thomas's high school tape, and it actually started in a Twitter Spaces where I feel like one of his assistant coaches was in a Twitter Space. I know you were in there.
Yeah, he was in there. The special teams coordinator at Miss State.
Yeah,
Miss State at his high school, John Ehret.
Right. So he was like, "Hey, I want to let y'all know Zavon Thomas is the guy." So it actually happened that night. So I was like, "Okay, I got to go see if this guy is." It was like in the wee hours of the morning. He was like, if this guy is really pleading for his player, I was like, all right, let me go see it. And I was immediately floored and was really taken aback with how good and productive he was. And at Mississippi State, he has been just that. And he really started to hit his prime at the end of this past season, right?
Yeah, dude, that punt return he had against Ole Miss, setting him up to score to get him back in the game. Like, he's a game changer, dude.
Yeah, and the Texas A&M film was way better than that Ole Miss film. It was crazy. This is a big-time football player hitting the prime of his career. And I do think he is a very, very, very good player. I don't want to call him special just yet because there's obviously we want to see how he fits in, but he's pretty close to it. So, Blake, I hope he is at LSU. He's one of my favorite Louisiana high school football players I've ever seen. Verified plus 21 mile per hour guy in high school. So those are the type of athletes that we want at this university. So I think he's big time, and hopefully LSU is able to seal the deal and he be a big part of what we're doing next year.
I'll ask you more in depth in coming weeks. Very quickly, if you had to pick today, Bama, Michigan, Washington, Texas, who are you taking?
Oh, God bless. Look at you.
I'm doing a national college football show now. I want to hear your opinion. That's why.
I am of the belief that Michigan and Texas will win. I am.
Do you just hate Milroe? Do you really hate?
No, I don't. I think.
Dude, I think. Well, go ahead. Go.
No. Tell me what you think. Because
I think Bama is a horrible matchup for Michigan.
Okay.
Horrible.
Why?
Because I saw their defense against Georgia, who wants to put everything condensed and in a box, and Bama just absolutely clap smacked them. And if you can clap smack Georgia, you can clap smack Michigan.
So you like Bama, I like Michigan, and you for the other game, where are you leaning?
Dude, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Because Derek Williams, the former 5-star at Westgate, plays at Texas, everybody thinks that their secondary is really good. Their secondary is asshole.
No, they're not. Yeah, they're not a good secondary.
Dude, they're 94th in the country in passing yards allowed. I think Penix and them about to run that shizite up. I do think Texas is more physical, which gives them the advantage here. But, dude, I pick against Washington every week, and they keep winning. But here's another crazy thing. Washington, dude. Washington is 120th in the country in passing yards allowed. Their secondary is ass. So I really don't – I think it's going to be a high-scoring, high flying, kicking into the new year type of game. I don't know, but I will say this: Washington fans hate me, so but I hate Texas so much.
I have Texas winning because until A.D. Mitchell loses a playoff game, I'm not betting against him. He is the Robert Horry of college football.
Right. He's about to be 8-0 in playoff games.
Dude, he is the clutchest wide receiver I have ever freaking seen since freaking Mario Manningham. I mean, the guy just
Mario
that
Manningham,
guy,
dude, those catches along the sideline and the Super
unreal.
Bowl, dude.
So I'm going to go Texas and Michigan in the final. I do love Alabama's defense. I love what Nick Saban has done. I just think Michigan defensively is going to get enough stops. I do. And I think Michigan will win in like a 27-24 kind of game. Harbaugh, though, has lost every single
dude.
postseason game. It's crazy, man. And if he chokes another one here after what they're trying to do contract-wise, it's going to absolutely shatter the world. And I'm not a Harbaugh fan. I'm not a Michigan fan by any stretch of the imagination.
And I'm not a Bama fan. I you know what else? Let me ask you a stupid question. You ready?
I love
Jalen Milroe the best quarterback that Michigan's seen all year? Because I think he's better than Kyle McCord.
Kyle McCord's bad. I don't think Kyle McCord's
he's better than the Tagovailoa kid at Maryland.
Yeah, you know what's funny?
This could be the best quarterback they played, bro. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't seen these dudes, man.
I don't know. You might be convincing me to go Bama.
I think Bama's good. I think it's a horrible matchup for Michigan, dude. I really do. And I know, I see some comments in here about y'all act like the Auburn game never happened. Y'all acting like the Georgia game never happened.
Yeah, the Auburn game is a little bit of an outlier because it is a road rivalry game, and Nick has never done well there. So
ever. It didn't matter who the coach was.
And Nick, with time to prepare and a lot of experience in the playoffs, this could be his last. So yeah, I am going to go Michigan, Texas. I am going to go, but I will tell you this: I am pulling for Washington. I'm pulling for Washington.
Yeah. By the way, was there, speaking of, because we were talking about the Heisman Trophy earlier and Jayden Daniels, was there a more awkward moment in college football's history than RG3 saying Big Penix Energy standing right next to the dude?
Oh.
And then did you see Marty Smith like lean up and fart?
Okay, so I am pro Marty Smith and fart.
I am too. Doesn't mean he didn't toot. He farted live on open air. Huh?
What I got to be real. If you ever invite me to a social event or anything like that, dude, I unleash fury, man. I have no idea why. Dude, I did just it's crazy, man. I am. Look, Marty, it's the biggest stage you can be on as a college football reporter.
Bro, that dude ate Taco Bell, leaning up, huh?
Dude, Marty, I am with you, bro. Let that thing.
I'm not with any man that's gonna fart like.
but here's the thing: if Marty did it and won't claim it, then I've lost a lot of respect.
I mean, if you're Marvin, did you see Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of just like?
Yes,
flinched a little bit.
I would have forgiven Marvin Harrison winning the most fraudulent Biletnikoff Award in history if he would have called out the fart. It's right there. I would have been
like, "Hey man, you just farted on live TV."
If he just stood up and just said, "Now, hold on just a minute. Hold on." Man, I would have.
Never mind. Hey, you know how they kept going to the orchestra that was playing the music when they're going to break? The dude playing the violin looks like he got bit by the anti-Spider-Man spider. Looks like Peter Parker without the powers, dude.
The orchestra.
Anyway.
There's a lot of viral moments.
Lots of them. All right, buddy, it was good to have you here on this Monday. We'll probably have a lot to talk about